Hello, YouTube world. Oh my god. I just woke up after a really long sleep. And, I've been trying to, I try to generally speaking, I'm just looking for my glasses here. God, I sound old. Generally speaking, I try to avoid mainstream media news, uh, especially anything to do with politics. I generally try to avoid it. I'm trying to have a happy life. That shit is not does not make for a happy life. But I haven't been able to avoid noticing that there's something going on in Britain with regard to flags. So at first I saw an article that was saying that the flag of England, okay, which is not the British flag, so I mean, I guess just a brief summary, right? Like, so Britain or the United Kingdom is made up of, I believe it's four countries. You could call them countries. England is one of them. And then there's Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. So these four separate, you could call them countries, are united as part of the United Kingdom or Britain. And so it was just the part of it that to do with England, that the flag just for England, not for Britain overall, was being deemed racist. I read an article saying that maybe a week or two ago. And I mean, I didn't read it in depth, but I don't know why that particular flag was being considered racist, but I read that it was. Okay. Now I'm seeing articles that are saying, yeah, the flag of England is racist, but not just that, also the British flag itself, like the also known as the Union Jack, is being considered racist. Can somebody explain why? Like in the mainstream media or outside of it? Can anyone explain to me what is racist about it? Like, I don't know, even if you don't think it's racist, like, why do some people think that it's racist? Like, what is the controversy? What caused it, for some people at least, to consider it to be racist? I would like to know that. Like, I mean, I understand in the case of the United States that it was the Confederate flag, which is associated with the U.S. Deep South from the Civil War. It was a flag from the U.S. South. That is considered racist. Now, I don't actually agree with that. I think that, I mean, some racist people could fly it, but some racist people fly other flags too, or just the regular United States flag. Like, I don't personally think that it's racist. One of my favorite movies is Thelma and Louise, which is like, I just watched it recently with a friend who never saw it. I'm like, how did you never see that movie? It's like a chick flick. Some people would call it a chick flick. These two women go on a crime spree, and it's a feminist movie because they're coming up against men and winning and throughout the movie. Okay, and it's got Susan Sarandon is one of the stars, and she's a very well known feminist actress. And I believe one of them, it was Thelma or was it Louise? I can't remember which one. But one of the main characters in that movie is wearing a belt buckle of a Confederate flag, and that is considered to be a feminist movie. So I'm just saying, like, yeah, there could be racist people who identified with that flag, but also people who are not racist, also like Susan Sarandon in Thelma and Louise. So I never personally agreed that the Confederate flag was racist, but at least I understand why some people think that it is. I do get that part. Okay, so I don't understand what's going on in Britain that way. Like, so why do some people think that the British flag is racist? Like, what caused this to happen? Because it's relatively new. Has it been going on for a long time? The controversy with the Confederate flag has been going on for a long time. It's not just a new thing. So I don't understand what has changed in Britain to cause the British flag to now be considered racist. I'd really like an explanation on that. And also, it seems that it's being renamed, and that's confusing too. Like, not everybody's in Britain, right? Some of the news articles that are coming up on MSN, like a lot of the news articles actually, this is a problem in general, like, is that they seem more targeted to a local audience, but once you get more international, people don't understand all the little finer details of what's going on. So why is the Union Jack, like, why is the word Jack been dropped from the name of the Union Jack? Because it's confusing. Like, I'm now hearing it being called the Union flag, the Union flag. And when I read about the Union flag, to me, having just not too long ago been part of it, a workers' union, right? To me, Union flag sounds like a flag that, like, somebody who works in a labor union or a trade union might fly. Like, that's just what that wording sounds like to me. But no, it's actually Union flag now. Now, just as of this week, I guess, means the British flag. Okay, so why did they get rid of the word Jack? Like, is Jack racist? Like, I don't know, is Jack a person? Like, I don't know. I don't know. I need, British flag controversy 101 video to be made to break it down to how it came to be. First of all, why was the English flag being deemed racist? Now, why is the British flag deemed racist? And why is the British flag being renamed from Union Jack to just call the Union Jack flag? Now it's the Union flag. And does everybody know that that's talking about the union, like I was just explaining at the beginning, of those four countries, England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, and not talking about like trade unions or labor unions? Because to me, that's what it sounds like. When I when I was on strike once before, like, I had to walk around the picket line holding union flags, literally, like, for CUPE, Canadian Union of Public Employees. So to me, that's what a union flag is. So it's just very confusing to try to keep up with the renamings of things, especially when you're not in Britain. Um, so yeah, what's racist about it? And but, like, think about it. Just what I've just said, what little basic knowledge that I do have, like, it sounds pretty inclusive to me, because it's going the Union flag, right? The Union means, like, united, like those four countries, England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland, all combining different elements from their own individual flags, are all combined into that one flag. So it's incorporating elements from all four. So if anything, I mean, the Canada flag is not like that. So I just wondering, like, what it seems to be quite an inclusive flag. So as opposed to being racist and exclusive, it's actually including the various different regions of Britain within it, in its visuals, which you can't even say that for most flags for most countries. So if anything, it would be a more of an example of an inclusive flag, which is why it's called a Union Jack flag. So again, so that doesn't seem like racist. So what it makes it racist? Can somebody please explain? Okay, so that's one thing. And what's the other thing I wanted to say about that? I had something else in my mind about that. What was it? What was it? What was it? I guess that's it. I guess that's it. Like, what is racist about the British flag, and why is it being renamed Union flag? Union flag as opposed to Union Jack flag. Um, oh, well, like, and it just seems like it's dominating the headlines, and, like, like city councils are making orders against these flags and things. Like, I mean, Britain has been totally, it would seem, I don't know, maybe not for the ordinary people, probably not, but what I've been getting from my little bit of seeing the mainstream media is Britain has been very preoccupied in recent years with fighting this Russian boogeyman. You know, they're quite antagonistic against Russia and quite wanting this war in the Ukraine to go on. That's been my impression, and which I think is crazy, suicidal even. Like, so there's only room in this planet for, you know, a handful of hegemonic global powers. And in Europe, which is where Britain is, the natural hegemonic world power is Russia. Like, just it. Like, that's the biggest country in Europe is Russia, with the most. Well, it's the biggest country in the world, but definitely in Europe, it's the biggest country by far, and it's got the most natural resources. So it's. I would think, if world peace is our goal, which it's my, uh, that we would be wanting to get along with this hegemonic power, not poking the bear, like, right, like, so so I just think for a country that has spent so much of its energy recently poking this Russian bear, which is a formidable bear which could just roll over and crush them by its sheer size, um, that like this is their concern is something to do with a flag. Like, you, every day that passes, like, we're so close to World War III. Well, you basically are in World War III already, even if it hasn't been officially declared. um, and we're very lucky so far that it has not escalated into a nuclear war. So every day that passes that Britain is not annihilated with nuclear from Russia is a blessing. Like, every day that passes that does not happen is a blessing from God. And I would just think that in a country so vulnerable to being wiped off the face of the earth, literally, by nuclear bombs, that they would have more pressing concerns on their minds than some controversy involving a flag, which at the end of the day is symbolic, whereas a nuclear war explosion is, it could be symbolic, but it's also very physical and very real. It's not just symbolic. So, um, wouldn't that be their more main concern? Is how do we end this war in the Ukraine so, God forbid, it does not escalate into a nuclear situation, because there's no way that our country, if not much of the rest of the planet, is going to be able to survive that. How do we, how do we turn this thing around and get it to a peaceful resolution? If anything, they've been goading it to make it worse. That's what I see. That's what I see from Western Europe in general. Like, don't they understand? Russia is your regional global hegemon. It would be like being like, oh yeah, let's go to war with United States. Like, we're not in any position to do that. Just like Western Europe is not in any position to go to war with fucking Russia. So I just think that would be their main concern. Um, then some would seem to be some contrived controversy with, at the end of the day, is symbolic. It doesn't have any physical power over us. Is these flags? Um, so the world is going nuts, and and okay, this is also what I wanted to say about the flag controversy in Britain. Is it's so weird that this is happening, but and then you look at Canada, which technically is part of the British Commonwealth and shares the same crown. British crown is also the Canadian crown. In Canada, there has been an explosion of nationalism, which I think is so silly. But there has been. Like, I cannot watch YouTube. Like, YouTube has increased the number of ads that you're seeing so much recently. And you used to be able to skip them after a few seconds. No, now they're making you watch 30 seconds worth of commercials. It's like, I feel like I'm back in the 80s when you'd had to sit there and watch all the commercials. Literally, you would. Um, like, okay, so, but there's all these ads, right, on YouTube, and I'm in Canada, so there tend to be Canadian ads. Like, it doesn't matter what business that you're talking about, any business from any part of the economy is going on and on and on and on and on about how Canadian they are. We are Canadian. We are Canadian. Domino's Pizza wants you to know that they are Canadian. Are they really? Like, isn't this just a Canadian subsidiary of an American conglomerate? I don't know. But I mean, every company is just shouting from the rooftops how fucking Canadian they are. And like it's this frenzy of Canadian nationalism that's being goaded and pushed on actually by the mainstream media. It's not being considered racist in Canada. Uh, that's why all these businesses are jumping on the wagon, right? So there's Canadian nationalism is exploding, and that's being supported by the mainstream. But at the same time, British nationalism, it would seem, is coming under attack with the British Union Jack flag being declared racist. So what's up with that? Why is the exact opposite thing happening in Canada? I mean, what's that? Well, why is it happening in Canada is it goes back to Trump because Trump was saying, making quite sensible actually, but but definitely very provocative and not diplomatic, I would say, but I think that's on purpose, to give a shock factor, but definitely not diplomatic. Trump was making comments calling Canada a 51st state. Okay, and so this has resulted in many Canadians getting their backs out of joint. I mean, I think it's so silly, but and clinging to a renewed sense of Canadian nationalism. So it's like Canadian nationalism is almost being seen as anti-Trumpism, is equated with Canadian nationalism. Like, I think that whole thing is silly, but that's what's gone on. So, okay, so help me understand this. Well, but that's not happening in Britain. British nationalism is not being seen as anti-Trumpism. So, like, why is that? Well, I guess Trump never said that he's going to make Britain the 51st state. Okay, but still, like, it's just interesting that the exact opposite is happening in Britain to what's happening in Canada. And the Canada's flag, by the way, is not very inclusive. Just saying, just saying. Like, which Canada has way more regions and diverse geography to it than Britain does, being a country way bigger. I mean, there's no representation of Quebec, which on Canada's flag. There's no representation of Western Canada, really, on Canada's flag. The maple leaf is the symbol on Canada's flag. Well, arguably that is representation of Quebec. Actually, maple leaf is those maple trees are part of the landscape of southern Ontario, southern Quebec, and parts of New Brunswick. Okay, so it's a very limited part of the country where the landscape would be dominated by maple trees. In Western Canada, they're quite rare. And you're only going to get them in parts of coastal BC as part of a mixed forest, predominantly evergreen, but there is some maple trees naturally mixed in some parts of BC. But it's nowhere is it the dominant tree. So the maple leaf being a symbol of Canada really only comes from Ontario and Quebec. Okay, so you don't see any of that regional representation in Canada's flag the way you do with the British flag, with having something from England, something from Scotland, something from Wales, something from Northern Ireland. In all four countries have some kind of symbology incorporated into the design of the flag. Well, Canada's flag doesn't have that. It outright only has something from southern Ontario, southern Quebec, but most so that's excluding most of the country. But still, despite that, Canadian nationalism is being celebrated and goaded on by the media, and British nationalism or love for the flag of Britain is being seen as racist, even though the British flag is more inclusive of its different parts of the country than the Canadian flag is of its country. So what's up with that? Can somebody explain that? Like, I'm just trying to make sense. It's a very difficult world to understand right now. Okay, okay, and I'm blonde. I know, I'm blonde. So maybe that's part of why I'm having such hard times understanding. I don't know. Okay, and let me just say there's weird energy in the air today. There is weird energy in the air. My friend was just acting very high strung, and I just hope he's gonna be okay because I love him. But I understand where he's coming from. It's frustrating. He's frustrated with his life. So I'm just hoping him the best. Okay, that's all I have to say for now. I've got to turn the air conditioning back on because it's fucking hotter than hell in here. And, you can't hear me, so I have to stop this live stream so I can start the air conditioning. Thank you. If anybody wants to answer any of these questions, please do in the comments below because I'm trying to understand. Thank you. Peace out.